The royal arena shimmered under three suns, its silver walls rising higher than mountains. Thousands of alien eyes glowed in the crowd, waiting for the next warrior to enter. Every fighter from every world had already fallen. The blades of the Vael, the beasts of Dryon, even the Stormborn from Zinthar, none could pass the Queen's sacred trial. At the center of the arena stood Queen Aris Vorn, her armor black and gold, her gaze colder than space. She was not only ruler of the Vael Dominion, but also its most feared telekinetic warrior. Her power could move planets, yet today her eyes burned with disappointment. "Is there no one," she said softly, "worthy to awaken the throne of fire?" Silence followed her words. The captains bowed, ashamed. Then a voice from the servants' gate muttered, "Maybe it's broken." The crowd gasped. From the shadows stepped a human janitor, Eli Kern, holding a mop instead of a weapon. He wore gray overalls stained with dust, his brown hair messy. He wasn't supposed to speak, much less stand before the Queen. Guards moved to strike him down, but Aris raised her hand, stopping them with a faint smile. "A human janitor?" she said, amused. "You dare speak in my hall?" Eli shrugged. Someone had to say it. Laughter rippled through the audience. Cruel, mocking. Yet the Queen's golden eyes didn't leave his. "Step forward, human," she commanded. "Touch the throne if you believe it is broken." The throne of fire was no ordinary seat. Forged from the heart of a dying star, it chose only those with a spirit strong enough to balance life and destruction. Thousands had tried to awaken it. All had failed. If Eli touched it unworthy, he'd be reduced to ash in seconds. He hesitated, then sighed. "Fine, but if I burn, someone better clean up." The Queen tilted her head, intrigued by his courage or stupidity. As he walked toward the glowing throne, the crowd whispered, "No human could survive that. He will die instantly." Eli placed his hand on the throne's edge. Nothing happened at first. Then the light shifted, flickering red, then blue, then white. The air vibrated like thunder caught in a jar. The arena walls trembled and a shockwave of pure energy burst outward. Guards fell to their knees. Warriors shielded their faces. Only the Queen stood firm, her eyes wide with disbelief. The throne of fire had awakened. For a janitor, flames spiraled around Eli, not burning him but wrapping him in light. Strange symbols appeared across his arms, ancient marks of power no one had seen for millennia. Eli blinked, looking at his glowing hands. "Well," he muttered, "guess it wasn't broken after all." The Queen approached him slowly, each step echoing like a drumbeat of destiny. "What are you?" she demanded. He looked at her, eyes reflecting the fire. "I'm the guy who cleans your floors." For a moment, the Queen said nothing. Then, to everyone's shock, she laughed, a sound that hadn't been heard in decades. Her laughter echoed through the grand arena, mingling with the whispers of fear and awe. "Perhaps," she said, "the universe still has a sense of humor." She turned to her generals, her expression turning cold again. "From this day, the human belongs to me," she declared. Eli frowned. "Wait, what? Belongs?" The Queen smiled faintly. "You have awakened what no one else could. Human, that means your fate and mine are now intertwined." Before he could protest, a surge of light shot from the throne. Wrapping both their wrists in a chain of energy, it burned and shimmered like living fire. The Queen looked at the bond, eyes widening in shock. "The throne has chosen us," she whispered. "As one." Eli stared at the glowing link between them. "This isn't good, is it?" he asked. Her gaze turned serious. "No, Janitor," she said. "It means the gods of the old empire will awaken." The arena fell silent. Thunder rolled across the alien sky. And somewhere deep beneath the palace, an ancient force stirred. A voice older than time whispered through the flames. "The flame has found its keeper." Eli swallowed hard. He had come to mop the floor. Now he was bound to an alien queen by cosmic fire. And as the light of the throne burned brighter, he had no idea that the fate of galaxies now rested in his human hands. A janitor awakens the throne meant for gods, binding himself to a queen and a destiny that could ignite the stars. The fire that had bound them still shimmered faintly around their wrists. Queen Arisvorn stood motionless, her golden eyes locked on the human before her. Around them, the arena remained silent, thousands of warriors kneeling in shock. For the first time in Vale history, the Throne of Fire had chosen someone unworthy of its bloodline. Eli looked down at the faintly glowing chain of light that connected him to the queen. So, he began carefully. Is there a way to unplug this thing? Her gaze turned toward him slowly, cold and sharp. You dare mock the will of the stars, human? She said, her voice echoing like thunder through the chamber. I'm not mocking, he replied, raising his hands. Just saying, this wasn't exactly in my job description. The crowd erupted in murmurs, some angry, some frightened. A captain shouted, He's cursed the throne, burn him! Eris raised her hand, silencing them instantly. Enough, she commanded, her voice steady but strange. No one touches him. Her second in command, a towering alien with skin like obsidian, stepped forward. My queen, he said, the bond between you and the human, it is forbidden. Eris glanced down at the glowing light between her wrist and Eli's. Forbidden. Yes, she said quietly. But the throne chose. She turned toward Eli, her eyes narrowing. Come with me, she said. Eli hesitated. Do I get a choice? No, she answered simply. The queen led him through the palace corridors, the walls alive with soft light that pulsed in rhythm with their bond. Every alien they passed bowed low but stared with unease. Whispers followed them like shadows. The human, they murmured, the cursed one. When they reached her private chamber, Eris faced him again. Her voice was softer now, though still edged with authority. You have done something no being has achieved in 10,000 years. Eli rubbed the back of his neck. Yeah, I have that effect on broken machinery. Her expression didn't change, but a flicker of amusement passed through her eyes. Do you even know what you've done? She asked. I touched a chair, he said, and now we're handcuffed by space fire. Eris sighed, something rare for a queen of her kind. The Throne of Fire, she began, was built to test the soul, not the body. It responds only to those who possess what it calls the eternal spark. Eli frowned. And what's that? Some kind of alien Wi-Fi password? She ignored the sarcasm, continuing. It is said the eternal spark was once born in the ancient race of humans who helped the Vale build the first cities among the stars. He blinked. Wait, humans were here before? Eris nodded slowly. Yes, before your species forgot. She turned to a massive window overlooking the planet's twin moons. Your kind once burned brighter than any sun, but something happened. Something erased your place in history. Eli stared at her in disbelief. So you're saying my ancestors were space legends? She met his gaze, and now one of their descendants has reawakened the flame. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence was thick with energy. Then the floor beneath them trembled. A low hum filled the room, vibrating through their bones. Eris spun toward the wall. They're awakening, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Who? Eli asked. The old flames, the guardians of the throne, she said. They only rise when the universe's balance shifts. The air grew colder. A fissure appeared in the center of the chamber. From it poured streams of red and gold light forming towering shapes, ghostly figures of armor and fire. The ancient Vale warriors reborn. They bowed to the queen, their voices a chorus of echoes. Matriarch, they said. The bond has been forged. The prophecy begins anew. Eris stood tall, but her face betrayed unease. This was never supposed to happen, she said. Eli took a step back, eyes wide. Okay, I'm definitely not getting paid enough for this. The largest of the spectral warriors pointed at him. The human carries the spark of rebellion, it said. He is the key to awakening the core of stars. Eris turned sharply. That core was sealed at the beginning of time. The spirit's eyes blazed brighter. And now it calls to him. Eli backed up until he hit the wall. Hold up. Let's not awaken any cores, okay? But as he spoke, the bond on his wrist flared violently. Flames leapt across the room, and ancient symbols appeared on the floor beneath him. Eris shouted, Eli, stop thinking. I'm not thinking, he yelled. That's the problem. The chamber exploded with light. When the fire faded, the queen and the janitor were gone. In their place, a single sigil burned into the floor, half human, half vial, intertwined in flame. Far above the planet, the stars flickered. The old gods had felt the awakening, and somewhere in the void between galaxies, something began to stir. A voice whispered through the dark. The spark has returned, and this time it will not be contained. Eli and the queen vanish into a burst of fire, awakening powers long buried, and now both gods and empires turn their gaze toward the human who carries the spark of rebellion. Flames swallowed everything, yet Eli felt no pain. He blinked against the blinding light, and when his eyes adjusted, he found himself standing in an endless void of glowing red clouds. Stars drifted above like slow-moving embers. The ground beneath his boots wasn't solid. It pulsed like molten glass. Alive and humming, Queen Eris appeared a few steps away, her armor still glowing from the energy burst. She looked around, calm but tense. This is not my world, she said softly. We are inside the throne's heart. Eli stared at her. You mean we got sucked into a chair? Her gaze flicked toward him sharply, but she didn't argue. This place exists between worlds, she said. Only those chosen by the flame can stand here. Eli took a slow breath, watching the strange energy swirl around them. So how do we get out? Her golden eyes narrowed. You speak as if leaving is simple. Well, he said, it'd be nice not to be trapped inside cosmic furniture. Before she could reply, a ripple spread through the fiery mist. Shapes began to form, massive statues of light and shadow, each carved from starlight. Then one of them moved, its molten eyes locking onto Eli. The sound that followed was like 1,000 voices speaking as one, child of forgotten fire. You walk once more in the core of stars. Eris took a defensive stance, energy gathering in her palms. Identify yourself, she commanded. The being's voice rumbled through space. We are the Guardians, fragments of what once forged creation. It turned its gaze toward Eli. You carry the spark that can reignite the eternal core. Eli swallowed hard. See, I didn't exactly sign up for reigniting anything. The Guardian leaned closer, its face shifting like a living storm. You misunderstand. Mortal, the flame does not ask permission. It answers purpose. Eris stepped between them, her aura flaring. You will not harm him, she said. Harm? The Guardian replied, we do not harm, we awaken. And before she could react, it extended a massive hand. A beam of energy shot forward, striking Eli directly in the chest. He gasped, falling to his knees as light poured from his skin. Visions flashed before his eyes. Humans building starships beside alien architects, fighting alongside Vael warriors, shaping constellations with bare hands. Then fire consumed the vision. A dark shape devoured the light, an endless void filled with whispering voices, and a name echoed inside his mind. The Devourer. Eris knelt beside him, gripping his shoulders. Eli! What did you see? He looked up, eyes glowing faintly white. There's something coming, he said quietly. Something old. And it eats light. The queen's face darkened. The Devourer is not supposed to exist. It was destroyed in the First Age. Eli shook his head. Well, looks like someone forgot to double-check. The Guardians bowed their immense heads. The flame awakens to stop what even gods fear, one said. Only the bond of two, one of heart, one of fire, can command the core. Eris turned toward Eli. Heart and fire, she murmured. They mean us. Eli gave a half-smile. Guess we're stuck as a team then. Before the queen could answer, the void began to shake violently. The molten sky cracked open, and a colossal shadow moved beyond it. The light dimmed, the stars flickered, and the Guardians' forms began to fade. It is already here, one of them whispered before vanishing. A beam of pure darkness shot through the sky, striking the ground beside them. The flames died instantly. From the smoke rose a figure cloaked in black, tall and skeletal, its body made of swirling void. When it spoke, the air itself froze. The flame returns, it hissed. And so does hunger. Eli took a step back. Okay. I'm officially out of my league, Eris extended her hand, forming a blade of light. You will not touch him, she declared. The devourer tilted its head, its voice echoing like death. You would protect a human, matriarch of Vale? He is fuel for the flame, nothing more. Eli clenched his fists, the symbols on his arms glowing brighter. Sorry, pal, he said. But I'm not on the menu, the devourer lunged. A blur of shadow. Eris moved faster, her sword clashing against its claws. The explosion that followed shook the entire realm, sending shockwaves across the core. Eli was thrown backward, his body sliding across molten ground. When he looked up, the queen was locked in combat, each strike shaking the stars around them. But she was losing. The devourer was feeding on her light. Eris, he shouted. She glanced at him, her voice strained. Use the spark now! Eli didn't know how, but as he raised his hand, the fire on his skin roared to life. The chain between them flared, connecting their energy into one blinding beam. Together they unleashed it. A wave of white flame burst from their bond, swallowing the devourer in a storm of pure light. When the light faded, the shadow was gone. Eris fell to her knees, exhausted. Eli rushed to her side, helping her stand. Are you okay? He asked. She looked up at him with faint surprise. No one has ever asked that of me before, she said softly. He smiled faintly. Well, maybe that's why your gods brought me here. Around them, the broken sky began to mend. The core of stars pulsed once more, brighter than ever, but far away, beyond the galaxies. Something stirred again in the darkness, a whisper echoed through the void. The spark has been lit. Now let the fire consume the stars. Eli and the Queen have awakened a forgotten power. But in doing so, they've drawn the attention of the Devourer, a cosmic force older than creation itself. The firestorm faded, and for a heartbeat, silence ruled the void. Then the world around them cracked apart like fragile glass. Eli felt a sudden pull, like falling through light itself. The next moment, he was back, standing once again in the royal arena of Vael. The crowd was gone, replaced by smoke and ruins. The three suns above were dim, bleeding strange black veins into the sky. The air smelled of burnt metal and ozone. Queen Eris stumbled beside him, clutching her chest as the last embers of their power flickered away. We've returned, she said weakly, but not to the same world we left. Eli looked around, confusion and fear written across his face. What happened here? Eris raised her head, her golden eyes scanning the horizon. The Devourer's echo, she whispered. Its touch spreads like infection. Worlds decay wherever its shadow falls. From the distance came the sound of alarms. Deep and mournful, armored ships lifted into the sky, firing streaks of light at unseen enemies beyond the clouds. But nothing hit. The beams vanished into the dark as if swallowed. Eli stepped forward. That thing we fought, it's already here, isn't it? Eris nodded grimly. It followed the flame. It always follows the light. The Queen activated her wristband. Summoning a floating hologram, the image flickered, showing generals across the Dominion in chaos, planets falling silent one by one, cities swallowed by void storms. The Devourer feeds, one general shouted before the signal cut out. Eli clenched his fists. We started this, didn't we? Eris met his eyes, her tone steady. No, human. You continued what the gods began. A thunderous roar echoed across the sky. The ground trembled as something enormous passed through the clouds. Eli looked up and his breath caught in his throat. Above them hung a colossal sphere of black light, like a dead star reborn. Its surface moved, shifting like liquid shadow. The heart of the Devourer, Eris said, her voice trembling. The end of all suns, before they could react. A swarm of shadow beasts poured from it. Thousands of creatures, half machine, half darkness, rushed toward the planet's surface. The palace defenses activated, firing beams of plasma and light, but the shadows absorbed every blast. Turning stronger, Eris turned to Eli, her voice sharp. The core inside you, can you call it again? Eli shook his head, panic flashing in his eyes. I don't even know how I did it the first time. She gripped his shoulders tightly. Then learn fast, human, because the galaxy will not survive your hesitation. Before he could answer, the floor erupted beneath them. A monstrous creature burst through the marble, its form massive, its mouth filled with glowing fangs. Eli dove aside as Eris leapt into action, summoning her blade of pure fire. She struck the creature once, but its wounds closed instantly. It roared. Slamming her back into a broken column, Eli grabbed a piece of shattered metal and swung wildly. The blade struck, and to his shock, the mark on his arm glowed. The weapon turned red-hot, slicing through the creature's armor like paper. The monster shrieked before collapsing into ash. Eli stared at the smoking blade, his voice shaking. "Did I just—" Aris rose, eyes wide. "Yes," she said softly. "The core responds to your will." He looked down at his glowing arm. "So I'm a space wizard now?" The Queen frowned. "If that word means living weapon, then yes." A new tremor rolled through the palace as another explosion shattered the horizon. Ships were falling from the sky like dying comets. Eris activated her command link again. "Evacuate the royal city," she ordered, "and prepare the celestial gate." A soldier's voice crackled through the comms. "But my queen, the gate hasn't been used in millennia." Eris's tone left no room for argument. "Then today it will be." She turned to Eli, her armor burning brighter with energy. "There is only one path left, human. We must go to the edge of stars." "Where the gods sealed the eternal flame," Eli frowned. "You mean there's another flame?" She nodded. "The first one, the source of all creation." He sighed. "Of course there is." Then after a pause, he added, "And let me guess, it's also guarded by something that wants to kill us?" Her lips curved slightly, the faintest smile. "Now you begin to understand destiny." They reached the throne room, but it no longer looked like a hall of power. It was half destroyed, fire licking the walls, and the ancient throne of fire itself flickered weakly. Eris placed her hand on its armrest, and the bond between her and Eli flared again. The air around them twisted, and a massive portal of white fire opened above the throne. "The celestial gate," she said, her voice filled with reverence. "It will take us to where this all began." As they stepped toward it, the sky split apart behind them. The heart of the devourer descended, its voice shaking every atom in existence. "You cannot run, little sparks," it hissed. "The dark was born before your fire, and it will outlast your ashes." Eris turned to Eli. "Once we enter the gate, there's no coming back." Eli took a deep breath, his heart pounding. "Then let's make sure the trip is worth it," he said. They clasped hands, the flames around their wrists merging into one blazing stream. The gate roared, swallowing them in light, and as the world behind them fell into shadow, the first human and the last queen vanished into legend, their bond burning like a single star defying an endless night. As worlds fall to darkness, Eli and Queen Eris stepped through the celestial gate to the place where gods were born, where the final truth of the eternal flame awaits. Light became motion, motion became sound, and sound became silence. When the brilliance faded, Eli and Queen Eris stood on a plain made of living fire. Above them stretched no sky, only rivers of glowing energy twisting like veins through the void. Every breath shimmered in the air, every heartbeat echoed across eternity. They were standing inside the birthplace of the universe, the forge of stars. Eris looked around, awe and sorrow crossing her face. "It is said this is where the first god struck the spark that began everything," she whispered. Eli stepped beside her, his voice quiet. "Feels alive." "It is," she said. "And if the devourer reaches it, everything dies, not just us, but the concept of life itself." The ground beneath them pulsed as if listening. Then a voice spoke, deep, calm, and older than time. "You carry the echo flame, last of mortals, and yet you burn brighter than gods." The fire rose and took form, an enormous being of light with wings made of starlight and eyes like galaxies. "The prime flame," Eris breathed, falling to one knee. "The origin of all creation." Eli stared upward, barely able to comprehend what he was seeing. The being turned its gaze toward him. "You are human," it said, "child of forgotten builders. The spark that defied extinction." Eli swallowed hard. "I guess that's me." The prime flame's voice rippled through space. "The eternal cycle nears its end. The dark hungers once more." Before Eli could respond, the entire forge trembled violently. A fissure of black light split the horizon. The devourer emerged, its vast form blotting out everything. No longer a shape, but a moving void consuming stars as it came. Eris rose, summoning her fire blade, her voice sharp and steady. "It followed us," she said. The prime flame's light flickered. "It always does." It cannot exist without light to chase. The Devourer's voice rolled like thunder. You cannot hide behind your myths. Flame, your time has ended, it struck, and the forge screamed. Waves of darkness slammed against the light, bending space and tearing reality itself. Eli felt the heat of dying sun scorch his skin. Eris stepped in front of him, her armor blazing. Stay behind me, she commanded. He shook his head. Not this time. The symbols on his body blazed brighter. The fire inside him roared awake. The bond between him and Eris ignited once again. Glowing like the birth of a new star, the prime flame turned its gaze to them. You are one flame and two hearts. Now burn together. They clasped hands and the energy burst outward. The forge erupted in light, every flame. Every spark of creation answered their call. Eli's voice echoed through the void. No more darkness, he said. Not while we're still burning. The Devourer shrieked as the light cut into its form. It tried to swallow them whole, but Eris met its shadow with her sword. Every swing split the void, sending shockwaves across galaxies. Eli felt the core within him burning hotter. It hurt. It felt like his soul was tearing apart. But he didn't stop. Not while Eris still stood beside him. Not while the light still answered. The Devourer howled. You are mortal. You will fade. Eli grinned through the fire. Then I'll fade brighter than you ever shone. The flames around them condensed into a single point of pure energy. A sun forged from willpower. Eris's voice rose above the chaos. Now Eli, release it, he shouted, his voice merging with hers. For the stars! The explosion that followed was beyond sound, beyond sight. The forge erupted into white fire that swept through every corner of the universe. The Devourer screamed one last time before its shadow disintegrated into nothingness. The void collapsed inward, sealing itself in light. When the light faded, the forge was quiet again. The stars pulsed gently, alive once more. The prime flame spoke softly. The darkness is gone for now, but all light demands sacrifice. Eris turned sharply. No, she whispered, not him. The flame's glow dimmed. The human spark burns too bright for this realm. It must return to the ashes it came from. Eli looked down at his hands. His skin was dissolving into light. He smiled sadly. Guess this is goodbye. Eris reached for him, grabbing his wrist. No! There must be another way. He looked at her, his voice gentle. You gave me purpose, he said. That's more than I ever had. Tears glimmered in her eyes, liquid fire, falling like comets. You are not just human, she whispered. You are the proof that even mortals can touch eternity. Eli chuckled softly. Then don't forget me. I never will, she said. My flame will remember yours. As his body faded completely, the forge shone brighter than ever. A new sun ignited in his place, a white star, pure and eternal. The prime flame bowed its head. The human spark lives on. It will guide creation through every dark age yet to come. Eris stood alone, staring at the newborn star, its light reflected in her golden eyes. She whispered, Rest now, Janitor of Destiny, and turned toward the rising suns, her steps slow but steady, her heart burning with his memory centuries later. When alien children looked up at the night sky, they saw a bright white star at the center of every constellation. They called it the human flame, and their elders told them the story of the man who lit the universe to save it, a janitor who defied gods, who tamed a queen's heart, and who burned brighter than any king of stars. He was not born a warrior nor a god, yet his fire outlasted them all. The alien queen tested every warrior, but only a human janitor awakened her power. And through him the universe found its light again.